Hello all, and welcome to this night's review, which I am dubbing the new haircut review. Got a new haircut, and I need a new camera review because I constantly get error messages with this camera. But for some reason, miraculously, it still works, even though it's giving me error messages every time I record. So, what are we reviewing tonight? Well, not one of my most expensive comparison reviews, but definitely up there, and my camera has decided to go nuts. Another reason why I need to replace this camera, but that's okay. We're going to use it to our advantage. This is what we are reviewing and comparing. See, wrong side. That's the best way I know to go and get it to go back into focus again, is to put something in the near focus where it wants to be for whatever reason. So, these are the two VSOPs, Hennessy, right here, and Courvoisier. So I'm just going to bring it down because I believe this might actually be a little bit hard to go and suss out. And I should probably put down a piece of white paper as well. That would be useful. So you can get good coloration on there, huh? Yeah. So I'm going to put the paper down. And I got my water this time. I love my utter lack of preparation for these. Since this is probably going to take a while, let's just get down to the business of like pouring this out and whatnot. Okay, so let's pour out the Hennessy first. So these are two VSOPs. Now, this is going to be interesting. I'll give you a little bit of background. When I do my reviews, they're usually after dinner. And I usually, since it's my day off, I have a cigar in the morning. I've totally eschewed tobacco for over 24 hours. And I have yet to eat my dinner. It's over there getting cold on the counter. I really want to go and do this one with the most clean palate possible. No food remnants, no possible backups in my nose, what have you. So that was just the Hennessy got poured out. So the one side effect of that, though, is that this might get to my head a little bit. Okay, fairly balanced in size there. Whew. Okay, so coloration. Hennessy, VSOP, Courvoisier. The Hennessy appears to me to be a shade darker than the Courvoisier. So they're both a sort of yellow, orange, amber color, but the Hennessy is slightly darker, which is not overly surprising. Its blend is slightly older than the Courvoisier. Let's go to the nosing. I might have to do this like this here. Peach and jasmine. Of course, woody oak, vanilla. An overall fruitiness. Some hints of baking spices. Onto the Hennessy. A much more spicy note is in there. Cinnamon, nutmeg. Baking spice note is a lot stronger in this. Also, very woody, very vanilla. If I may say, a bit more vanilla than the Courvoisier, and probably also a bit more woody on the nose as well. Almost like a tawny port-like grape note there. So sort of wine-like note. All in all, you can tell that they're the same category of beverage, but they're other than that, they are pretty different. They're both cognacs, but they smell pretty different otherwise, other than the fact that they're both grape distillates aged on oak barrel. Much more, the Courvoisier, much more floral, lighter. Overall, a juicier, more floral scent, lighter. Spicier, not hot spices like I said, baking spices. More wood there. Still on the overall sweet smelling, not as sweet as the Courvoisier. And more fruity wine-like notes. Okay, let's get on to the palate tasting. But first, let's take a sip of water. These are both 40% ABV, by the way, so 80 proof. First with the Courvoisier. Sweet, smooth, fairly light on the palate for a distilled beverage. Peach in the front, and then the woodiness sort of comes in the mids and sort of dominates the finish with hints of almond and a wonderful jasmine top note in the nose. Again, the real byword here is the smoothness of it. It's just so silky smooth on the palate. And, you know, there's only the slightest hint of alcohol bite in that finish there. Onto the Hennessy. Actually, I think I need a little bit more water to clear the palate. Also sweet, but the tasting profile kind of gives it almost a drier feel. So there's the sweetness is sort of an indistinct fruitiness. But there's a lot more spice there. You know, if I usually say baking spice, but this is like pure cinnamon. that emerges in the mids and just gives a cinnamon bite that lasts into the finish. The woodiness is bigger and more pervading and more lasting in the finish. That sort of tawny port slash grape note is not really too apparent on the palate, but is very much the top note in this. But what really gets me is how dominant the wood is in the mids to the finish. Very much that oak barrel taste there. Going back to the Courvoisier. Again, just silky smooth, so much more sweeter floral. The tastes don't boom. They're not as big as in the Hennessy, but they're just so nice and gentle on the palate. Back to the Hennessy. Interestingly, though, even though the Hennessy is stronger, it doesn't seem to, the flavor profiles don't seem as clingy to the mouth as the Courvoisier is. I need to take about 2 sips of the water to really clean my palate with the Courvoisier, whereas the Hennessy 1 sip kind of suffices. Yeah, a little more of that grape fruitiness and that grape and fruit in the front. Starting to get this a little bit better. That's the problem with those tiny bottles, is that I can't really go and explore it as much as I've explored the Courvoisier. But yeah, that wine slash grape note starting to emerge a little bit more as I'm exploring this with the second glass I've had here. Almost, almost raisiny at times too. Almost. It's nothing like, say, like a Sauternes, but in some notes of raisininess. So, how are they similar? Well, both are cognacs, so they're fairly sweet, say, compared to many whiskeys, particularly of, you know, um, say, American ones. So they're both fairly sweet. They're both, their flavor profiles, the taste notes don't really pop much compared to whiskey, which is what I'm much more used to reviewing. So they sort of are a taste spectrum rather than really discrete tasting notes that you catch. They're both really enjoyable. And they're both really complex beverages that you could spend a lot of time exploring. But as it stands right now, and I have a pretty strong feeling that this is one that's not going to change very much because it seems really fundamental. I prefer the Courvoisier to the Hennessy. And it's not just the price note, because the Courvoisier is a bit cheaper than the Hennessy, but it's just so much more smooth. And I really, really, really enjoy that floral top note combined with that juicy sweetness in the front to mids. It's not to say Hennessy is bad. I like spice notes, I like wood notes. I'm not saying I hate it, it's just I prefer this. I prefer the Courvoisier. That said, I would not turn down either of them. I would deeply enjoy both of them. I am deeply enjoying both of them as we speak. And, well, because I don't have any Hennessy, I'm looking forward to taking this bottle to another tasting. Because, damn, if I didn't enjoy it. And, while I'm not going to be reviewing any more Cognacs and, the near future, I'm hoping to explore it in the more distant future. I can't really explore these kinds of beverages in depth every single week just because I can't afford to. So, to be fair, expect a series of fairly cheap reviews of things that are gifted to me or things that aren't that expensive. Um, But I will be revisiting the world of Cognac, and this exploration of the world of brandy has been pretty interesting. I've got to say, at least. I don't know what you guys think. So, well, I know what you guys think because like 80% of you are family members, and you guys really enjoy this kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, Courvoisier wins on my subjective palate test. Hennessy loses, but is not a loser by any means. And, my friends, I really want to emphasize that both of these are excellent beverages that are really worth the time to explore. This is just my own subjective taste preferences speaking here. I was almost going to hit the 20-minute marks. My food's probably stone cold right now. So I'm just going to put this aside. Honestly, I don't think what I have to eat right now, lasagna, is really going to mesh well. So I'm going to put these to the side and kind of revisit them after I'm done eating. Make some tea. And then, well, no, probably get ready for bed. After, well, maybe watch a few YouTube videos first. And yeah, that's your Cognac comparison review for this evening. Salute.